Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you very much for making us a part of your day. What's going on over there, Ben?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm still going on that stupid show, even though I said I wasn't going to. And
you kept going?
I think it's just ruining my overall persona.
All right.
But my wife is out of town for the next few days.
So you're watching this by yourself?
So, no.
Oh, you watched it with her?
No, I'm watching it by myself.
Okay, you threw it on by yourself. We're talking about Real Mormon Moms of TikTok, or what's it called?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. The Snap thing.
On Hulu.
Yeah, she has a career and is a big deal. She doesn't have time for such trashy television.
Okay.
No, that's pure,
I like that
that's pure me.
Sitting down at the Hulu and dialing it up by yourself.
No, but the point is, with her out of town, I will be able to. I'm still only on like episode 2 or 3.
Okay.
Like I'll be able to jam out like the whole thing. I think. Make my kids watch it.
Sit down, darling.
Here you go, Maggie, 3-year-old.
This is what the world's really about.
Let's show you. Let's teach you a lesson about what not to do. This is not this is not it. Oh man! But I did see what's his name more.
Brett
Engelman, which is my justification for this because there's a sports connection.
What's the vice in that show?
The vice?
Yeah.
Oh, all of it.
Is it fame? Like what is hurting these people? Because these are hurt people, right? I mean, they have a collection of 8 people who are flawed, as are we all, but they have a specific type of flaw that's being exploited on television that gets us to watch. You know, the reason you watch Hoarders or Cheaters or whatever all these shows have been, it's like a person's vice that we as a community like to watch and say, well, at least I'm not that.
Well, now I'm just an obvious armchair psychologist, but I would say the brilliance of it is I think it's multitude of mental disorders.
Okay. It's a collection.
I think it's a volatile collection, which is what makes it.
Whatever your favorite flavor is, you can find it.
Yeah, it's somewhere there. And then you root for, like, picking Jeff Gordon or something in NASCAR. Then
sure.
you pick the one you like, and then you root for that crazy one throughout the entire run of the show.
Sure.
Like with Housewives, like there's Meredith people, you know?
Okay.
There's
you a
Jen Shaw.
Are you
people.
a blank person?
No, I don't think. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
You don't have a rooting interest.
I've bumped into a couple of them in public, which I think
really?
is pretty awesome. I rode up the elevator last jazz season with Lisa Barlow, who just lost $100,000 like bracelet at a party.
Oh.
Anyway, I saw Whitney Rose in the beer line at the James Taylor concert. But I don't know. That's a good question. I'm definitely don't identify with the gal that married her stepdad or whatever, but she's like barely on the show anymore.
Seeing a reality star, quote unquote star, is funny because they're not really stars. You know, their talent generally hasn't gotten them there. Their randomness for getting picked to be in a freak show on TV has gotten them there. You know what I mean? Like, you see, insert random celebrity, actual celebrity here. Actor, actress, athlete. Generally, a bit of talent has gotten them where they are.
I saw CT at Sundance once.
Okay. From Real World Road Rules Challenge.
Initially, Real World Paris, but then famous for the challenge.
The challenge. And they're just like, it is different because they are very much more normal people than your average celebrity. But at the same time, crazy. And you know all their horrible, horrible secrets, which actually you don't know as much about most celebrities as we probably think.
So my kids and wife and I were walking around that lake up by Brighton, you know, the one right by the base mountain. Is it Silver Lake or whatever it is? So
when you can walk around the circle.
Yeah, it's got the boardwalk and stuff like that. It's a cool little walk, especially if you have kids. And I looked across the lake, and there's this group of people just acting like morons. And I was like, what's going on over there? And my wife's like, oh, that's a influencer.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, those people look like idiots. Why would it be? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, you know what? Are you getting enough attention that like looking like a moron in reality is worth it?
And maybe I'm wrong here, but I think the biggest issue with it is it never stops. You kind of have to do that always. Like you said, you're at a lake at Brighton on a Sunday morning or whatever it is.
Peaceful walk around. Everybody's
you always
really
have to
enjoying
be
themselves.
performing.
Oh, I get the Ben. We have to perform for 2 hours a day, and trust me, this is barely a performance, and it's maddening enough. I can't imagine being on 24/7. I mean,
24/7.
speaking of the real world, can you imagine being on
The cameras never turn off.
ever?
Yeah, Big Brother, etc.
It's amazing they haven't had more mental illness in those shows than they have.
True breakdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be like a prison.
I have to act like I have it together for 2 hours a day, more during the jazz season. That's not so bad.
Right.
It's not so bad.
But all the time is a lot.
All the time is a lot.
All right.
All right. Well,
Let me know when you get to, I don't know. There's only 8 episodes. It's not very long.
What type of reality TV show do you think Christian would succeed in?
Succeed in?
Yeah. Is it?
Oh, it was like Survivor, but if it was Survivor cannibals and you actually had to eat the other contestants.
Wow, that's extreme. I was more
well,
going
Christian's
from,
an extreme type of guy.
would there be a physical component to it? Would it have to be like?
Yeah. You have to watch the life leave somebody else's eyes.
I don't think like Christian is dramatic enough for like the real world. I think he'd be the boring one.
Yeah, agreed. They'd kick him off.
But I feel like if there was some sort of, I mean, you hit on the Survivor thing. Like I feel like if there was some sort of physical component, that would make Christian more interesting.
Not Alone, which is my favorite reality show. He couldn't do Alone. His thoughts would get to him too quick.
Big Brother, I mean, yeah, boring.
Christian's
going to be
thoughts would expose him on Alone, and then he would leave camp and go deeper into the wilderness. And
Never
they'd
see
never
him
find
again.
him.
He's gone.
Like that guy who killed the squirrel and then he left because he was so sad.
So sad
that
about
he
it.
killed the squirrel.
Yeah, but you would go the opposite direction. You'd kill a squirrel, and then you'd get a thirst for blood. And you would abandon the cameras.
Wait,
Not
You'd
enough
abandon
squirrels
all
for me
attachment to
here.
human life. Yeah, you'd say, I need something meaner.
okay, wait. Did the
World's
person
most dangerous game.
did the person who cried about the squirrel know the concept of the dang show before he
Yes.
went on it?
Yes. Of course,
Dude.
yeah, they're not just dropping people in the Arctic Circle.
Dude, if you don't think you can bring yourself to kill the squirrel, then don't
Don't
go on
go.
the show.
Correct. You
You're
have
not
wasted a life.
You're not going to be prepared.
He was actually doing really well too. Like I kind of thought he was going to win at first, and then after a couple weeks, his mind was kind of
Yeah, playing
You
tricks
deteriorating.
on
know
him.
what? If you're crying
Broken.
about the squirrel, then you're not hungry enough.
The squirrel was his friend.
Oh, it was like a Wilson,
Wilson.
kind
It
of
was a
thing.
Wilson
It
situation.
was one of those.
Yeah.
No, it'd be like if Hans ate Gus.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh man, Hans is gonna be really mad if he heard that.
Yeah, we don't need to be talking about eating pets this morning. It's a hot topic.
Is Hans in studio today or is he on remote? He's on remote.
It's football season.
Okay.
They're never in studio anymore.
Because I could get my arm pulled off for that one. It's one thing to play Gus. It's another to talk about Hans consuming Gus. That
Yeah.
would be.
Fork and a knife.
But yeah, the guy cried and left because of how'd he kill the squirrel?
Oh, they all shoot them with bows and arrows or little things.
Smothered it with a pillow.
A little trap. What do they call that? Thing that wraps around your neck and strangles you
This
to
is a
death.
pretty gruesome show. No wonder
Very, yeah.
No wonder my guy Igor didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a tender heart.
the real
Apparently, you
deal.
have to be just a
Savage.
savage to win this thing.
100%.
What happens if you go after the other contestants?
What do you mean? Happens if you win?
No, like what if you poison their well or something?
Well,
Oh,
that's the
they're
point of the
far
show. Is
enough
they're so
apart.
far apart that there's no
They're
like,
not-
almost no chance of them interacting.
They're not
yeah.
within. Well, that would make the show way better.
Well, there is a show on Netflix called It's Like Alone, but basically you are working with teams and you can build alliances, and it actually is terrible.
I don't want alliances. I just want close enough to meddle.
Naked and Afraid.
No, it is something called like Survival or something, and they go and they tear down each other's camps and stuff, and it's like, well, okay, I gotta leave because it's cold outside. It's not fun. There's no challenge there.
Resetting human civilization.
But see,
Yeah,
that's way
right.
more bitter, though. That's what makes it interesting. Is now you have a different component.
It doesn't work. The show doesn't work. I haven't watched the new season, but the show doesn't work. Alone works. They're on season 11 or something.
Like, what was the first thing they did when they got dropped into the Hunger Games? They teamed up.
Yeah. Survivor. We already have that. We have that TV show.
I don't know. I never watched that show. I can't believe it's still around.
I haven't watched it since the first season,
Like 25 years?
at least.
That host guy's got to be loving it
It's a good gig.
if you can get it.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, what do you think about what has become the topic of the day? If Cam Rising were not to go. Highlight if, because apparently it's controversial. Isaac Wilson will be number one. And, we got to get top three because we've got a busy guest lineup today. Alex Taylor covers the University of Wyoming for Wyosports.com. Will be with us at 10:30. And then we're going to talk to Coach Bear, Ben.
Andre Tyranny's going to join us coming up at 11 o'clock from the Utah Hockey Club.
The head coach.
Excited. In studio.
Which is great. We're really excited to meet him and to talk to him. And pretty sweet that that's happening on our show today.
I'm a little afraid of him.
Yeah, way afraid. Well, his name's Bear, dude.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. If you've got the nickname Bear, there's certain...
He would win alone without losing any weight. He would gain weight. He'd be the first guy who gained weight on the show alone. But you've been out here for 100 days and you put on 15 pounds. What happened?
You have to do tough stuff.
How many animals did you kill?
You have to do tough stuff to earn a nickname like Bear, like open beer bottles with your eye socket.
These are glamour kills. You're not even killing to survive. You're killing to establish yourself.
Time for the top three stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. 2 locations to serve you, one on Winchester Street across from Fashion Place Mall, the other at Traverse Mountain in Lehigh. All right, Christian, where are we starting today?
Number one, after yesterday's practice, Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham did open up about the plan at quarterback if Cam Rising is out.
Well, right now it appears to be Brandon Rose. He's the guy that played today, would be the number 2 guy, but the week's not over yet. But he looked pretty sharp today, and Isaac looked sharp as well.
Brandon Rose, QB2, if Cam is unable to go. Ben? So Sam Heward, I would assume QB3.
We had talked about this a little bit. My assumption is just that Cam is not going to play, and it's going to be Isaac Wilson. And then if that is the case, how long of a leash does Isaac Wilson have? I mean, if you are down 7-0, 10-0 if you're Utah, and Isaac Wilson is 2 of 9 with 2 picks, do you pull him?
Well, I don't know, but let me ask you this. What's the likelihood of that happening?
Slim. It would take, a bad pick 6. I mean, that's how you're talking about how I think Utah State is scoring. If he throws 2 picks, you could easily be in a spot where Utah State's had advantageous position. Ike Larson gets a pick 6.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah.
I'm talking worst case scenario, obviously.
And at what point in the game are you talking about?
Yeah, this is still probably the first quarter.
So it's a little more complex, I think, than just that. How not confident are they in Brandon Rose?
Clearly, there must be some question because, A, Witt had to name Brandon Rose QB3 today, QB2 if Cam doesn't play, because they had not even given him that job yet. That wasn't clear before yesterday when he talked about it.
So it's one thing to go away from a quarterback if you've got another, able body that you want to get a look at. It's another thing if Ben Anderson is standing over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what their confidence level is in Brandon. Accurately enough to answer that scenario, I suppose. But I don't think it's going to come to that. I think we're looking at Utah's going to run the ball the whole time. I mean, if honestly, if the offense against Baylor without Cam Rising is an indication of anything, like they're not going to open it up with the true freshman, which is not an insult to anybody, by the way.
No, that's the right thing to do.
That's the right thing to do. Now, it won't be that conservative because they are going to fit some pass plays and game plans and that sort of thing to his strengths and try to move the ball a little bit that way. But you know what? If Bernard separated himself as the guy at running back, he's going to have one heck of an opportunity against Utah State because I think they're going to run the ball a ton. And I think the defense is going to make life really difficult on the pig farmer.
Utah State, allowed 235 non-QB rushing yards against USC. So the 2 quarterbacks had 14 yards. They allowed 249 total, so 234 total rushing yards to the Trojans. So that defense has been a little bit susceptible. And because Ike Larson's their best player, you probably don't even put the ball in the air at all.
So that's what I think Utah is going to want to do. So I guess, long story short, answering your question, I don't think it gets to that scenario.
I'm talking, and understand. I'm going
there.
very hyperbolic, worst case scenario.
And listen,
when do you have to make this decision of who actually matters, barring Isaac Wilson taking a hit and getting hurt?
I don't think it's going to come to that. I really don't. They're going to protect him for everybody's interest. You know? Nate Johnson. If it's got to be nothing but slants, fine. It's got to be nothing but slants. We're not going to make you throw these complicated routes just because it's what we want to do. So
neither here nor there. Would Nate Johnson be the backup? Would he be playing this week?
I'm telling you, he wouldn't be playing quarterback.
He would have been on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. You're probably right.
Or even a receiver, or heaven forbid, a running back or something.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
might have
think,
been a safety or a corner.
Not unless he was really holding back his arm talent last year.
Yeah, which can't be the case.
No, I don't think so. All right, what's next?
Number 2, Utah Hockey Club Rookie Camp begins today.
You can actually stream this on their website. You can't go see it or anything. But there is a lot of NHL preseason stuff going on. They're kind of doing their media day. They do it a little bit different. The NBA does this some as well, but they do a national media day. So like Clayton Keller is with the entire NHL getting photos in the new sweaters that they have. And you see a little bit more of that versus kind of the traditional media day we've seen with the Utah Jazz or BYU or the Big 12 or Pac-12 in years past. I'm not actually sure if they do a local hockey media day or how that works, but yeah, rookie camp starts
I'm
today.
sure. Where is this National Media Day, Ben?
I think it's in LA, but it could be in New York.
Well, why are we sitting here in Salt Lake City, bro?
Well,
what are we doing?
Here's the thing. The media day isn't media there. It's like we're getting media. Like we're getting photos. We're taking things that will go on NHL.com. Not like the Canadian hockey press is up there interviewing everybody. I don't think
that
that's
sounds like
what's going
somebody else's problem. Why wouldn't we still be there?
Talk to Nate.
We should be there.
Where's Cole Bagley? Where's our guy?
We are only having the dang coach on the show today at the top of the 11 o'clock hour.
Well, he's not there.
We're super excited about. All right, what's next?
Number 3, BYU running backs LJ Martin and Hinckley Rapati are listed as doubtful this week, according to Kalani Sitake.
Won't matter.
It shouldn't.
But it'll matter after that. Which is tough. This is something BYU, these are the weeks you did want to get that worked out. And the problem with LJ Martin, and again, we don't know what the injury is fully, but he was beat up throughout offseason as well in training camp. So if this is reoccurring, that's where it gets scary. If this is a re-injury, he's already missed time, that's really difficult.
Kalani did clarify this is a different injury than what was plaguing him throughout camp. But that could be a worry, too, if he's got a bunch of different injuries.
Yeah.
Well, they need to move the football. And if they've gone all in on the run game, then they got to find a way to run it. Yeah, against Wyoming, it likely won't matter because it looks like Wyoming is just dreadful. But remember, BYU had one of the worst run games in the entire country last year. And it was tough. It was tough sledding. So they need those guys healthy. You can't go down your top 2 backs anywhere in the country and be really confident with where you're at. But still, they got to figure out a way to move the ball, even in Laramie.
And what you don't want against Laramie is the need to move the ball on the ground and that weight to fall on the shoulders of Jake Retzloff.
Nope.
And all of a sudden, he's taking unnecessary hits in a game he shouldn't be touched. He should have a clean jersey at the end of this game. That would be ideal. And if they need him to use the ball to run because they can't move it through the air, because they didn't move the ball through the air very well at all.
But they should be able to do that
SMU.
against Wyoming.
You would hope so.
You would hope so. You would hope it would more resemble the Southern Illinois situation.
Which he did move the ball through the air.
He did.
Yep.
That's why I thought, wow, I'm surprised. I asked Mitch about it. Is this what we're going to see? And then it was a better opponent. It's like, well.
Not really.
But now you're playing against Wyoming, who can't stop anyone, so you should be able to sling it through the air, I would guess. Well, we'll get further in depth into that coming up next. We talk to Alex Taylor. He's the beat reporter for Wyosports.com. We'll talk to him about what's going on with the Cowboys coming up next. It is Jake and Ben on a Wednesday, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben Anderson. Ben, it's time to continue, I suppose. Talking a little college football. BYU headed to Laramie this weekend for a 7 o'clock showdown with the Cowboys. Joining us now, he covers the Pokes for Wyosports.com. He's Alex Taylor with us here on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Alex? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, gentlemen, how's it going? Appreciate you guys having me on.
Alex, how surprised is this Wyoming football team to be 0-2?
Very surprised. I'm just, I don't think there's any cutting corners here. I mean, these guys are not thrilled of how this game has started. I mean, Jack Walsh, one of the key offensive linemen, I was talking to him on Monday, and basically, if you would have asked these guys a month ago if they thought they'd be going into this game 0-2, they would obviously not believe you. So you're definitely behind the eight ball here as a Wyoming player. I mean, you needed probably one of those, if not both of those games, to kind of go into this game with some momentum, and obviously BYU has some momentum going into this game. So it's going to be an uphill battle for at least the rest of the non-conference slate for sure.
What has been the biggest negative, I guess, or why is the reason it has been 0-2 so far, if you were to point at the biggest one?
Offense, for sure. I mean, in Tempe against Arizona State, I mean, nothing went right. So I'd say there it was pretty much a combination of everything. I mean, between offense, defense, and special teams. But now that you have kind of that two-game sample, the defense played a lot better in the second half against Idaho, obviously they were starting a backup quarterback, and then they were down to their third string quarterback by the end of that game. But for sure the offense. I was running some numbers when I was writing a story a couple days ago. I mean, Wyoming is 129th in the country in scoring offense. They're averaging 10 points a game right now. I mean, they have 2 touchdowns on the year, and one was in garbage time. And they're 131st out of 133 qualifying teams in passing offense. So they're averaging 102 passing yards a game. So, I mean, that's no matter what way you cut it. I mean, obviously the service academies, Navy and I think Army and Air Force were the two below them. But for any non-service academy team, I mean, that's just not going to cut it, especially with their new offensive scheme. They're trying to be more balanced, and one of the two aspects is not working at all. So that's kind of where they're at.
What about the receiving talent? I saw the coach was frustrated with their inability to get separation. Is that something you think is going to evolve and grow, and bringing back a healthy tight end? Will that help this weekend, or is that going to be an issue all season?
Yeah, I think, John Michael Gillenborg, obviously, he hasn't played at all this season. Him and Evan Savoda are roommates. We've been hearing all offseason about how strong their chemistry is together. So, I mean, that will definitely, if he is able to play, I mean, that'll be a big boost for them. But just the wide receivers in general, I mean, Jay Salvella's kind of mentioned on Monday a little, and you don't want to, lean towards saying, they're making excuses or anything, but he kept kind of making a point of how this is an inexperienced, a young wide receiver group. And a lot of these guys, I mean, it's kind of like a half and half, because a lot of these guys like Alex Brown, Will Pellissier, Jalen Sargent, they've been here forever, and they just haven't done anything. You know what I mean? So now it's kind of them mixed with the younger guys like Justin Stevenson, Tyler King, and Chris Durr Jr., who are all underclassmen, and you want to get these guys involved. But who, at this point right now, I don't know who you trust to get open. I mean, I'm not a coach, obviously, but, I mean, we asked him about that on Monday, hey, when you went back and watched the tape, is Evan making bad reads, or the wide receivers not getting open? I mean, he kind of said it's a combination of both, but he definitely seems frustrated with the offense as a whole. I don't want to single out any position groups, I guess, but that's definitely part of it. Those are some of your most athletic guys on the team, and nobody's getting open. So I don't know how much of that blame falls on the quarterback. I mean, obviously a lot of it naturally, but it's not all just him right now for sure.
So, Alex, I've been covering BYU, Utah, and Utah State for a long time now, and certainly a long time I covered them in the Mountain West Conference and remember the old relationships, really well. And it's been interesting to see how they have come and gone in the last basically 15 years as the Mountain West is not certainly what it was back in 2006, right? So I'm curious, BYU, Wyoming, we're talking, Lavelle with the famous quote, "I'd rather lose and live in Provo," I remember the early 2000s when the goalpost disappeared down Main Street in Laramie after, the Cowboys beat Gary Croton and the Cougs. Does this relationship still resonate in Laramie, and how much will that affect what the atmosphere is going to be like?
Yeah, I think, Salvell mentioned on Monday, said, this is obviously regardless of the directions of these programs. I mean, obviously Wyoming is very, very, very disappointing start. I mean, BYU's kind of lived up to their expectations so far, I guess you could say. But I mean, Salvell said that this is a special game, obviously for the players, for the program, and for the state. And I think the biggest kicker for this weekend is that, and Salvell's mentioned it plenty of times and brought it up at Mountain West Media Days, but they're not on any future schedules. So, I mean, this is if you're a vintage Wyoming fan or a vintage BYU fan where you've seen this kind of, I don't know if you can even call it a rivalry, but this game might not be around anymore. I mean, that's kind of where it is right now between the two programs. This is it for BYU coming to Laramie, and I mean 2022 was the last time Wyoming was scheduled to go to Provo. So I don't know, unless things change quickly between the ADs and they kind of decide to get something going in the future. I mean, I think that's a big part of this weekend, and I think it should be a pretty good crowd again, despite Wyoming being 0-2.
Alex, I hate to go too big picture with you, but it seems like every team with the handful of a couple of true blue chip markets are having some existential dread about what they're going to look like and where their position is going to be in college football overall. What is that with Wyoming in regards to the Mountain West and conversations about the Pac-12, and what does the future of Wyoming look like in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's. I guess. It really, you hate to say it depends on other schools, but I mean the Oregon State, Washington State scenario is going to have some kind of big implications. I mean, I think the Mountain West is on good footing right now. I mean, I'd say I was just doing the Mountain West power rankings yesterday for football, and it looks kind of like a down year for the Mountain West as a whole. I mean, obviously besides Boise State, UNLV looks pretty good, and Fresno, but I think basketball has kind of lifted this conference up. I mean, obviously they were pretty disappointing in the NCAA tournament last year with getting 5 teams in and only one advancing, or 2 advancing. But I think as a whole, I think the Mountain West is on, like I said, pretty good footing, and Wyoming is definitely a part of that as a founding member. And I see all the time San Diego State fans and Boise State fans complaining basically about having to go to Laramie or, making the trip to Wyoming. And at the end of the day, San Diego State, they tried to go somewhere else and kind of blew up in their face. So it's kind of just a weird time to be kind of that in-between school like San Diego State is, where they have the market, but they also don't have all of the bearings that these power conferences want, I guess, and when it comes to academics and budgeting and stuff like that. So I think, to kind of answer your question, I think Wyoming's safe for now, and I think the Mountain West is kind of in a good position, but I think Gloria Navarez has done a really good job of kind of positioning herself to get this conference into a position where it can be that West Coast conference when it comes to that late slate, especially in football, but in basketball as well.
Tell us a little bit more about Coach Saville. I know he'd probably rather have gotten off to a better start, but what are your first impressions? Or he's been around, right? So what are your impressions of him?
Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator here for 4 years before he got promoted, and Yeah, I think, like you said, I mean, it's definitely been a frustrating start. There was a lot of confidence and a lot of expectations going into this year. I mean, they won 9 games, went 7-0 at home last year, and really, I wrote that was one of the first stories I wrote this year. Is they just couldn't win road games under Craig Bowl, and obviously you kind of go out and you want to kind of set the tone early, and then you go and get blown out 48-7 at Arizona State to start your tenure. So that kind of a deflating start to that. But I think he's a lot more of what you would call a player's coach. I mean, he's in the weight room. Like we wrote a story about that in the offseason too, of like he's bench pressing with his players, like as they're working out, they're doing reps together and stuff like that. So he doesn't have a problem being around the guys and kind of being there for them just as a moral or mental support, I guess. I mean, Craig Bowl was kind of the opposite in terms of those player relationships. He was kind of a all business type of guy, so I think that's been the biggest shift. But in terms of staffing and personnel and stuff like that, I mean, a lot of it's the same, which I think that is what has Wyoming fans the most frustrated. I think is it was supposed to be pretty seamless transition, from Craig Bowl to Jay Salvo, and just in terms of their defense and obviously their new offensive coordinator. But I think he's still optimistic. I mean, he's kind of brought up multiple times how Arizona State looks like a pretty good team. I'm sure you guys are aware in the Big 12 they look kind of better than they have been the last 2 years, and then Idaho's also a pretty good FCS team, not making that excuse or anything, but he brought that up of how they haven't got blown out in the last 2 years. So I think that's definitely a tough schedule to start the year and on paper, but he's optimistic that they can get this turned around, and they're going to have to.
Well, hey, Alex, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, and hopefully you get to cover a fun one coming up on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Alex Taylor covers Wyoming for Wyosports.com.
He's a very good writer. Go read him.
Want to remind you about the Hercules Hero of the Week. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contests and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
I wish this game had a little more juice. It doesn't. BYU's going to destroy Wyoming. It's not going to be close. I think the storylines will be, how does Retzloff play and what does that look like, and can you escape healthy as you get ready to start the Big 12 season? But Wyoming is at a low right now. They're at a particularly low. That's a difficulty when you replace. Is it fair to call him a legend in Craig Bowl?
He was good at Wyoming. I don't know, legend.
Yeah, that's fair. About as good as you can be at Wyoming, probably, in today's day and age.
Yeah, it's hard to be good at Wyoming. He deserves credit, but I don't know. Legend is.
Superhero? A god?
I don't know about that. But yeah, tough to replace the guy. And it's tough to come in as the softer approach, replacing the drill sergeant. Does that make any sense?
Uh-huh. Man, he had a good run. 61-60 at Wyoming doesn't tell the whole story because they were so atrocious when he got there. They went 6-18 his first 2 years, but they only had one losing season after that. After his first 2 years.
Yeah, he's a good coach. I mean, he won at North Dakota State, right?
8 wins. 6-6 was his worst season. Oh no, the COVID year they went 2-4. Excuse me. So that was the one losing season. But yeah, 8-8, 6-8, 2, 7-7-9.
That's a really good job at Wyoming.
That's a really good job at Wyoming. Good for him.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, probably. I'd probably say some crazy stuff about pigs, get them riled up. I don't really know.
There you go, Van Fillinger talking about the pig farmer going up against old friend Bryson Barnes.
I love the Utahs going up to Utah State. I love that.
Oh, I think it's great. Let's give away some tickets real quick. It is a win ticket Wednesday, after all, being caller 12, 801-575 zone. You're going to win 4 sweet tickets to Sturgill Simpson at the Maverick Center on September 17th. Tickets will be sent electronically via Ticketmaster. Also, want to remind you about Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, or 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Ben, if you were a defensive lineman who is out there trying to hurt people, and I'm not saying that you take it easy on your buddy, but are you the type of person that would try and hurt your buddy even more if you were playing against him, or would you not?
No, we know the roles of this show. You are the person who wants your friends to hurt, which is why you don't like when anyone else's teams that they support win. So you would drive your buddy into the ground to dislocate his shoulder, and I would push you over. I would maybe spin you around and throw you into the dirt. This is purely hypothetical. I couldn't throw anyone down. I'm not physically strong enough, but I would take it easy. I would, as they say, brother-in-law them. You would target your buddy. You would try and give him a career-ending concussion. You would spear him in the lower back.
First of all, as usual, you totally misrepresent my point of cheering against friends' teams. The point is that it does not matter. I do not want to inflict actual pain upon my friends.
Emotional or physical pain? What's the difference?
Because it's not emotional pain. You do not suffer emotional pain over your sports team
Have
losing.
you met sports fans?
That is not a thing. It's not a real thing. So I don't actually inflict pain. And so I would not try to end the career of Bryson Barnes. What I would try and do is like punch him in the groin or something. Like I think that would be funny.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, yeah, I didn't break your leg, but you are limping a little bit going back to the.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
That's what I would try.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like maybe, if there's a pile of some sort, maybe he gets a purple nurple or something.
Wet Willie.
Right.
But you're not actually going to try and dislocate his shoulder and end the season?
No. Again, it's not about actual pain. Like, yeah, when the White Sox lose, I find it funny, but you're not actually
Well, they lose a lot,
You're
so
not
I hope you're having a good laugh.
in pain.
No, I'm not.
Like, Christian's Donks are the worst team in the league. He's not actually in pain.
No, it's a inconvenience on a Sunday. It's not actual pain.
No. So, yeah, I'm not obligated to cheer for you, nor am I happy for you. This one bugs me even more. Nor am I happy for you when your team wins.
I don't think, obviously, Utah's going to... I don't think Utah... any more than any other team tries to hurt players. I think Utah's more physical than a lot of teams. Do I think if you're coming off the corner and, you're on Bryson Barnes' blind side and he's not going to see you, do you give it your all? Honestly, you probably don't. You probably dial it down a little bit.
That's why I said, because I genuinely think defensive players, for the most part, maybe not soft corners, but are trying to hurt the other player. Not injure.
Yeah.
Like nobody's out ending careers.
You're not diving into guys' knees.
Yeah, but hurt. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
You're coming off the edge. You were ready to...
I'm going to knock the wind out of Bryson Barnes here. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I want to get to
but not like he's never going to play again.
I want to get to the backup for this series.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for the season.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think usually that's the mentality, as gruesome as that sounds. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to hurt you, but I'm not trying to injure you.
Correct. I think we'll see that.
But if it's your buddy over there, no, I'm just trying to do something funny.
I think that's fair.
What do they call that little pinch? The horse bite?
Yeah.
You know
where
what
you put the thumb in between the two fingers and it gives you a little bit extra.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what is it, horsefly?
The horse.
Whatever that's called. You're right.
Yeah, I'm doing one of those.
I haven't done that in a long time.
What's that called, Christian? The pinch with the thumb and the finger gives it like a horse bite.
I'm not a mean guy. I don't know these things.
Oh, come on. You were young once.
You pinched people.
Want to remind you to join Hans and Scotty this Thursday at Macy's in Providence from noon to 3. Find the hidden fan box and enter for a chance to win tickets to this Saturday's game. See you at Macy's, 50 North Highway 165 in Providence. That's all. Just a horse bite.
I'm trying to figure out what that's called.
Maybe pull some arm hair or something, something harmless.
It's called a fig sign.
That sounds...
obscene gesture that uses the thumb wedged between the two fingers.
No, it's not. We're talking about the pinch.
The gesture is most commonly used to ward off the evil eye.
That doesn't make any sense.
From the Roman age.
Stay tuned. More next. Jake and Ben. Oh, in fact, coming up next, we're going to talk to Coach Tierney.
He's coming in.
We're so excited to talk to the head coach of the Utah Hockey Club. Stay tuned for that. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.